Welcome, everyone. If you're jumping on just now, I am Shumaila, and we're going to get started in just a few minutes. So, while we are waiting for everyone to join us, I'd love to know who I'm spending time with and also to make sure you know how to use the chat and comment box. This is a highly interactive training, so go ahead and find the chat or comment box and share your name and where in the world are you tuning in from today. Also, share one favorite fun food or thing with me, and we're going to spend the next 1 hour together. So let's get to know each other a bit. A little bit about me. I am presently based in Calgary, and my favorite food is a South Asian dish called biryani, which is native to my city, Karachi, from where I come. You can try biryani in 100 of different restaurants and hundreds of different households, and they will all taste different and they have their own unique touch. So, for a person like me, I never get tired of having this dish. Awesome. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to this masterclass called Color Your Burnout, Sustain Your Advocacy Journey Without Burning Yourself Out. So, we're officially going to get started, and I'm so glad that you are here. And believe me, I don't take it lightly that you have committed to spending the next hour with me. So, as I mentioned, this is an interactive training and we're going to have a conversation together. So, make sure you keep that chat or comment box open. Throughout this presentation, you will see things like questions, polls, and tips popping up that allow me to engage with you while I'm presenting. So let's give it a try. How did you hear about this webinar? I'll give you a few seconds to answer that question that's coming up for you right now. Excuse me. Awesome. Now, a few housekeeping items before we get started. During our session, I'll be answering questions through chat and only through chat. So please type them in the chat box. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And if you don't hear from me immediately, you will hear back from me through email. As I dive into this masterclass, I will share experiences and anecdotes from my lived experience of burnout. And when you hear something you like, be sure to give me some encouragement by hitting the thumbs up button at the bottom of the screen or sharing in words how you resonate with what I mentioned in the chat box. Awesome. I would also like to share that after our session, I'll send you a link to watch a replay in case you want to review anything. And if you stay till the end, I have two special bonus offers for attendees of this masterclass. So if you stay till the end, you will get a link to my free advocacy burnout to breakthrough call, which is a 45-minute call in which I will learn about the challenges that you're experiencing as an advocate, and I will use my knowledge and skills to help you navigate those challenges. Also, as part of this masterclass only offer, if you stay till the end, you will get a chance to win 50% off my new signature program, Resurgence. Okay, more on that later. For now, let's dive into this masterclass, Color Your Burnout. So, firstly, I would invite you to listen to this webinar with your singular attention and to stop multitasking. You're here because you want to know how to break free from advocacy burnout. So it's super important that you block out all distractions. Give this time back to yourself. Put your phone in another room, close all tabs on the screen, put a do not disturb sign on the door. It's so rare these days that we can give anything our undivided attention. But you are here for a reason, and I want to make sure that you're able to focus on the training. Now, Here's my big, sincere promise to you today that you will be able to finally understand the root cause of your advocacy burnout. And whenever you find yourself in a cycle of burnout, you will know how to initiate a healing journey based on the most amazing strategies that we're going to learn today from legendary changemakers. So, does that sound good? Specifically, you're going to discover why what you've been doing for years to achieve your aspired impact didn't work. Instead, I'm going to walk you through how you can turn on your superpowers to transform your future and step into the most legendary years awaiting in your life. So imagine having all the teachings on burnout at your fingertips. You can skip over all of the Googling, all the YouTubing, all trial and error, and just follow a simple process to supercharge your energy and revitalize yourself. Instead of constantly feeling pressured to represent issues that you care about, I'm going to show you a path to create enduring change without burning yourself out. I know when I discovered the method called resurgence, it transformed the way I related to myself and my burnout completely. I actually found a superpower within me to transform my burnout into my greatest breakthrough. And I know that it can change yours too. And you wouldn't believe how simple it is. So, no more feeling guilty and no more shaming yourself for your burnout because we'll together transform your burnout into your greatest breakthrough today with just a simple question that you can ask yourself whenever you're experiencing burnout. And we will introduce this question to you in a second. So type yes in the chat if this resonates with you and if this is something that excites you and something that you want to learn more about. Awesome. I am so glad to hear. So before we dive further, let me know if you can relate to any of this and type yes if you would like to transform your burnout into a superpower for your greatest breakthrough. And so here's my promise to you today that you'll be able to finally understand the root cause of your advocacy burnout. And whenever you are in a cycle of burnout, you will have a 5-step process that you can initiate to break the cycle. So, does that sound good? So, now, guys, it's time to be a bit honest. Tell me the kind of shortcuts that you have taken to boost your energy, you know, things that you have done to energize yourself in the short run, but it has really worsened your burnout. Now, I've been guilty of many things. I've consumed energy drinks. I used to smoke. I would binge on energy bars. I would binge on social media and Netflix. I would take a lot of caffeine and so much more. And all these really impacted the health of my gut and worsened my burnout. So type yes if you resonate and share your own shortcuts in the chat box. Thank you so much. And now I will share with you a part of me that is not easy for me to share. It's a part of me that used to burn out. And I used to hide this side of me from everyone because I felt that it impacted the way I showed up and my professionalism and whether people would take me seriously or not. So I used to hide and I used to feel ashamed of it for a long time. But I've done a lot of internal work to bring this part of me to you and make myself vulnerable so that we can talk about burnout in a safe space. Okay? Now, there were times when, in order to relax myself, I would start watching a film, only to realize that my mind was so tired to follow the plot of the story and all the rest that I could not finish a film. Watching a film was tiring. There was also a time I would try to address my burnout by planning vacations. And I was only making my anxiety worse. Because by the time I reached the day when I was going to fly, I was exhausted. I've never missed a flight because of my burnout, but I was close to missing one. And it was common. It's very common for me that when I arrive in a new city, I go completely dead for a day because traveling became super tiring. I've also been to conferences where I've barely made it to my paper, delivered my paper, and went back to my dorm. And I had no energy to go out and explore. Yes, this has all happened to me, and I'm at a point where I can share this without feeling guilty because burnout is a real thing, and it's not your fault that you're going through a painful cycle of burnout. And I would like to ask you if you can relate to this and if you have your own stories where you try to help your burnout, but you actually made it worse. And I'll give you a few seconds to reflect on it. And if you would like to share, please do share it in the chat box. And as you write your stories, know that I'm not a stalker watching you, and I'm not going to judge you. And if you're someone who would judge me or somebody else for sharing the truth, I'm sorry, but maybe this space is not for you. This space is a safe space for sharing vulnerable experiences of ours so that we can build a community of support around our burnout. So, as we move forward and you read yours and other participants' story, feel free to validate them and say, yes, OMG, I can totally relate, and offer your compassion and kindness. Now, if you're nodding your head, yes, in agreement to any of the points that I've mentioned so far, I promise you that whatever it is that you're doing and it's not working, it's not your fault. It's really hard to know who is right and who to trust. And if you feel anything as I did back then, I would have done just about anything to get rid of my burnout, except nothing seemed to work because there isn't a lot of good advice out there on burnout. There has not been significant research on this subject. And what is evident is that the experience of burnout varies from one person to another. And across gender, race, ethnicity, profession, all the intersectional factors that you can think about, burnout and the experience of burnout differs. So there is a need for more research in this area. So I understand it's not easy to know who is right and who to trust. Now, you must be thinking, what is this specific kind of burnout that we are addressing in this masterclass called advocacy burnout? What specimen of burnout is that, and where does this demon come from? So let's start by understanding what advocacy burnout is. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. I am a PhD in music from the University of Alberta and a creative climate advocate and artist in residence at Mount Royal University in Calgary. I'm partnering with the climate organization Alberta Eco Trust to work on a project on energy affordability and justice. Moreover, I'm a certified positive neuroplasticity teacher and a distinguished founding support member of the Global Compassion Coalition. My advocacy journey formally began in 2002 when I represented youth at the 11th International Anti Corruption Conference in Seoul, South Korea. And since then, I have worked in the areas of good governance, cultural rights of musicians, and climate and energy justice. In case you're wondering why I got into this area of advocacy burnout, let me reiterate that I have a lived experience of burnout and I have healed myself through my journey in wellness, for which I received a runners up in 2023 Alberta Blue Cross Faces of Wellness. Back in 2010, when I was a student at Harvard University, I started mindfulness practice with listening to the audios of a Zen master, John Kabat-Zinn, and later Thich Nhat Hanh. And 10 years down the road, I took training to become a mindfulness teacher from Sean Fargo. And Since 2020, I've been offering recorded and live meditations on the Insight Timer. In 2023, I initiated the Deep Listening Path, a social enterprise in Calgary that is offering courses and workshops on positive neuroplasticity and in overcoming advocacy burnout. Now, let me give you some background about how and why I initiated the Deep Listening Path. You see, I have a lived experience of burnout, and I have lived in burnout cycles for more than 10 years. My maiden experience of burnout was in 2011, when I was a doctoral student at Harvard University. I felt pressured by the excessive workload that even the most amazing Harvard grads found to be a little too much. Initially, I did not find any support at Harvard's medical clinic for what I was experiencing, as they had a very positivistic approach towards the human body, and all of this impacted my position in the program. There came a point when I felt so unsupported that I was ready to leave my calling in music and pick another career. I still remember on my birthday, April 5th, 2011, after I had decided to leave music altogether, I was walking across Harvard Yard to go to Dudley Lounge to meet my friends for lunch. And suddenly, I felt a part of me making internal vows to myself that I would never quit what I started, and even if my work does not find support at Harvard, I would reinitiate my PhD and continue my journey in music. When I left Harvard in 2011 December, I was opening a dream chapter in my life. I went back to Pakistan and finally received access to learning from a master musician in Hindustani music, and I started learning the classical repertoire of vocal music. In 2011, I restarted PhD at the University of Alberta with the distinguished mentor, Dr. Regula Bukat Qureshi, who had also mentored me during my MA at the University of Alberta. Later in 2016, I received the Cultural Diversity Award and began working on my debut music album. All throughout my doctoral years in Edmonton, I experienced chronic fatigue and burnout at many junctures and use up all my student health budget for massage, acupuncture, and chiropractic help. Before discovering the resurgence method, I went through the greatest dip in my health. After earning my doctorate in 2019, I became a music faculty for semester at sea spring 2020 voyage, and the COVID-19 brought me back to my home city, Karachi. I experienced reverse cultural shock, and during COVID, my experience of burnout combined with other changes in my body. I underwent an early menopause and some hormonal imbalances that led to weight gain and abnormal bleeding. There were days when my body and my life felt totally out of control. I remember crying in my sleep, begging the universe to show me a way out of this dark night of the soul. It was perhaps with these prayers that I received inner guidance on how to re-regulate myself. I began to follow this inner guidance, and it helped me to return to Canada in 2022 after the travel restrictions had lifted. The transition back was far from easy. I moved 3 to 4 times between 2022 to 23, but I stayed committed to the path that I had been shown. And I saw my world transform. While the doors of academia remained closed, I began to receive opportunities in areas that gave me joy, which was in music and sound art. I became an artist in residence at Changemakers studio at Mount Royal University in Calgary, and I released my debut album in October of 2022, dedicating it to victims of flood in Pakistan that had displaced 33 million people, including 16 million children. My music was featured on BBC News, CBC's What on Earth, Canada's National Observer, and I spoke at the first ever Music Climate Summit organized by Music Declares Emergency in Toronto, as well as served as a keynote speaker for the University of Hawaii's South Asia and Climate Conference. I made it to the shortlist of Alberta's Artist Ambassador, and in 2023 I received the inaugural Women in Music Canada's Honor Roll. I also opened a show for the legendary Sundra Orchestra at the United Church in Calgary and did my first headliner show in Edmonton. I performed for Citizenship Canada's oath-taking ceremony, and I have an upcoming show for CBC Calgary. In June, in partnership with the Alberta Eco Trust, we organized workshops on deep listening and arts for social change for climate advocates, and it received great feedback. Helen Corbett, who is the CEO of One Sky, wrote a letter to Alberta Eco Trust about these workshops and said the following. I was amazed by the series of workshops with Shumaila Hemani. In my 22 years of working in the climate field, I've never had the opportunity to combine my background in film, photography, and art with climate change. This work Shumaila is doing is incredibly innovative, and I think it touched a deep yearning among the participants to seek equity and justice in this world in which we are immersed. This work has so much potential by welcoming the voices and sounds of people marginalized by energy poverty. And Stephanie Drozda at the Alberta Eco Trust said, Shumaila is an excellent facilitator. She guides participants to tap into a new way of experiencing their surroundings through sound and listening, helping them come away with a new perspective. These workshops were also documented in the Canadian New Music Network's PCM Hub, and this encouraged me to extend these practices that I have learned to a larger group of social advocates. Therefore, in the fall of 2023, I received mentorship in wellness coaching from Laurie Kennedy and initiated the Deep Listening Path and created my signature program, Resurgence. I applied for the long-standing certificate in positive neuroplasticity and received an incredible opportunity to be interviewed by the clinical psychologist Dr. Rick Hansen, who is the distinguished founder of the Global Compassion Coalition. Dr. Hansen invited me to become the distinguished founding support member of the Global Compassion Coalition, and we started working on a conference on music and compassion. Later, Alberta Blue Cross awarded me runners-up in Faces of Wellness in 2023. All these accomplishments further strengthened my resolve to teach Resurgence to others, particularly to social advocates working in the nonprofits, activists, creatives, and academics who are the voices of hope and justice in this world in crisis. While the Resurgence program was still in making, the war in the Middle East started, and it has been a difficult period for advocates who are fighting from the trenches and those who are at the front line. The polarization of political views, as well as the levels at which political opinions are being suppressed during this era, is bringing up historical traumas at unprecedented levels. I hope that this masterclass contributes as a voice of hope in this difficult era and empowers advocates to sustain their journey without burning out. So let's dive into the core concepts that we will learn today that will support you in your advocacy journey from here on, and it will transform the way you relate to your burnout. And yes, these are the 3 words that you must keep in mind. The past is past, we can't change it, but what you are going to do now is your choice. So let's look ahead from here on, and these are the 3 words. From here on. The first core concept that we learned today is that advocacy burnout is systemic in nature. Let's start by understanding what burnout is. Emily Nagoski writes in her book Burnout that it is a wound that needs tender caring. Quote, I felt tired, scraped out, hollow, like I was a walking shell of a person and I had nothing inside of me to offer to anyone. She further writes, it is the feeling of being overwhelmed and drained by everything you have to do, and yet somehow still feeling worried that you're not doing enough. Unfortunately, the causes and impact of burnout are strongly underestimated on a person's life. Nagoski writes that just as the body takes time to recover from an injury, like a broken bone or an infection, so is the case with burnout. It is an illness that needs a recovery period. In the first phase, you recognize that you are experiencing burnout and that you are really wounded. And in the second phase, you are working to bounce back. And in the third phase, you are not quite back to normal, but you are definitely not in crisis anymore. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is a chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It shows up as feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. While burnout occurs because of workplace conditions, its effects can be wide-ranging, compromising individuals' health, well-being, and relationships, in addition to reducing effectiveness on the job. The question arises as to why advocates experience burnout. Social advocates are high-achieving folks who put the desire to make a positive impact in the world before themselves, because there is a high pressure to have the self-awareness to see through things others don't see, and a dire need to educate constituencies and influence public policy. While the intention is noble and for a good cause, it's the very act of not prioritizing their needs that leaves them susceptible to being placed in a survival state rather than in a thriving state. Therefore, attributes such as the quality of putting the communal needs above your personal needs is one of the reasons advocates experience burnout. Secondly, as the EDI expert Jennifer Brown puts it in her article, advocates for inclusion experience increased levels of anxiety from their work as they take on the role of empathetic allies. She writes, and I quote, "I know firsthand the pressure to advance our collective mission without pausing to consider personal costs. For members of historically marginalized communities, the burden to outperform yourself is even worse." Unquote. She further says, and I quote, "I understand how the pressure to cover my more stigmatized identities depletes valuable energy that could be utilized elsewhere." Unquote. Moreover, advocates are using coping strategies that may be giving only short-term solutions. This could include initiating a self-care routine by doing simple things like taking bubble baths, doing facials, going for a massage, etc. These definitely will relax your muscles and will give you relief for a day or two, but it will not break you free from a cycle of burnout. It will impact your wallet for sure, and if you continue to feel exhausted despite a bubble bath and a massage, it may make you feel prone to think that you are not fixable, that your burnout is not fixable. I have experienced this from my lived experience. Another common approach people take is to book a weekend off or vacation away or a day out, etc. for recreation. And this is a great way to relax yourself and necessary to do from time to time. But a vacation can also be tiring for people experiencing burnout. I know I reached a phase in a cycle of my burnout when traveling began tiring my body and I was no longer experiencing the thrill I used to of seeing a new place. It was like I was pushing myself to have a vacation, thinking that is what I need. So if you are someone who has experienced burnout as a result of vacation, know that you are not to be blamed for it, and that does not make your burnout unfixable. Another common way that people try to break free from burnout is long hours of sleep. Again, this is a great way to catch up on rest, but know from experience that if you're not addressing the deeper causes of your burnout, then the sleep you are experiencing may be very disturbed and may not give you the adequate rest that you need. Then there are people who try quick fixes like using energy drinks, Tylenol Extra, energy bars, or binging on social media, etc. But these are only tools that will help you boost your energy in the short run. But in the longer run, you may feel even worse. Type in the chat box if any of this resonates with you and share your own coping strategies to deal with burnout. Now, I will share something that brings my own unique perspective on the root cause of advocacy burnout based on my lived experience. I invite you to consider that advocacy burnout is a systemic wound that is caused by unprocessed difficult emotions that emerge from pushing back against systemic oppression. It is this discovery of the root cause that led me to create my 10-step program called Resurgence. And one of the core questions and strategies that I teach is to integrate daily and hourly check-ins with yourself to see how you are feeling. This practice is what I refer to as coloring your burnout, and I will provide some resources about it in a second. On the Insight Timer, I've been offering mindfulness meditation practices that help people address their burnout and their difficult emotions such as anger, hurt, trauma, regret, and resentment. And there have been many people who have felt that these meditations have really supported in their healing. Emily says, "This meditation was really helpful. I'm a victor, not a victim. Thank you so much for helping me feel more confident." Moni Chavez says, "The meditation really helped me understand my anger, and now I'm going to know what to do with it. Thank you." Beverly says, "This was very powerful for me. I am stronger than my trauma and past hurts." There is a guest who mentioned, "I found this so very helpful at a difficult emotional time. It nourished my soul and allowed me to offer self-love when really hurting. Thank you," with a love. Wisdom Seeker says, "This was very unique and didn't anticipate the feeling in my body that I experienced. I'll definitely revisit." Patricia mentions, "This was a lovely visualization. This has inspired me to write in my journal some of the boundaries for protection and optimal health of the heart. I will write and meditate on the bad habits that I choose to leave for good, clearing out space for love." Maria says, "This was invigorating. This was the ideal start of the morning meditation for me. I didn't want to get out of bed. You said, stay in bed. I dreamt last night of wanting to go dancing. You guided me to go dancing in bed. This meditation was different from what I was expecting, but what a delight it was. I'm awakened with a smile. May today be a great day. Thank you. Namaste." Peekabell says, "Thank you, Shumaila. Not only am I less angry now than before the session, but I'm starting to perceive the process that you're guiding us into." So I invite you to begin a daily and hourly practice to check in with yourself and address any difficult emotions like anger or shame that may come up for you. Really process it by befriending and reflecting on it, because if those emotions are not addressed, they will sap your energy and you will be stuck in the cycle of burnout. And it will keep sapping your energy from time to time until you find everyday tasks to become extremely tiring and unbeatable. This brings me to core concept 2. You see, many presumptions about burnout do not always apply to advocacy burnout. Advocacy burnout does not result from toxic productivity. This idea that burnout results from toxic productivity is false, in my view. Contrary to what some burnout gurus out there have as belief, that burnout is a result of toxic productivity, this is not true in case of advocacy burnout, because advocates are highly purpose-driven people who are susceptible to experiencing burnout because of the nature of their purpose-driven advocacy work. So, if you are holding on to it because you hold yourself responsible and you're blaming yourself for your burnout, know that you could be worsening your burnout by giving yourself shame. Burnout is not caused by poor allocation of time and poor work-life balance. The people who have lived experience of burnout will tell you that burnout slows down their work efficiency. Since you are experiencing low energy, fatigue, and burnout, your time allocations do not work anymore, and your work starts to penetrate your relaxation hours with your family, eroding your work-life balance. To sum up, poor work-life balance results from burnout. It does not cause burnout. What does this imply for you? It implies that if you feel guilty about your burnout because you don't feel you have enough energy for your family or for socializing at work or any extracurricular commitments, you need to drop that burden of guilt and tell yourself, it's not my fault. So type in the chat box, "My burnout is not my fault," if this at all resonates with you. I want you to do that so that you can internalize it. Now, I know that this is a significant mindset shift, and part of you may still be holding on to blame and shame and not wanting to let yourself off the hook. But I want you to let yourself off the hook and type in the chat box, I am not my burnout. I am not to be blamed for my burnout. And I have the power to break free from burnout. All right, so far so good. We have learned that burnout is not a result of poor time management or any lifestyle choices, but these issues are an outcome of burnout. Now, let's address a few limiting beliefs that people have about breaking free from burnout. One of the faulty beliefs that people have is that everyone in my family has struggled with burnout, and so will I. It just runs in my family. And I would like you to consider that, hey, you do have the power to break free of these familial patterns. And I would invite you to break free from this limiting belief that you cannot break free from burnout. You absolutely can. The second faulty belief that people have is, I try to break free from burnout, but it keeps coming back. There is no way out. And my response to that is, you may say you tried to break free from burnout, but I'm here to say that what you tried was not addressing the root cause of your burnout. And you could keep struggling for months and years, making the same mistakes and think that there is something wrong with you and that you don't believe in yourself anymore. You don't believe there is any way out of this burnout. But the truth is that what you are trying is not effective. It should not impact your belief in yourself and your ability to break free from burnout. I believe in you because I know from my lived experience that yes, it was difficult, but I did finally break free from burnout. The third faulty belief is, I lack purpose and that's why I keep experiencing burnout. So in contrast to what some burnout gurus out there have as belief, that burnout is a result of toxic productivity, this is not true. As we just talked about it, purpose-driven people like advocates are susceptible to experiencing burnout. And what I discovered through my research and lived experience is that people who experience burnout are highly driven people. Faulty belief 4. Burnout is enduring, and my response to that is you don't have to endure burnout as a given part of your life. You can heal it and break free from it. Another faulty belief is it will take years and years of therapy. And my response to it is that no, the program that I have designed will take only 12 weeks for you to break free from your burnout if you follow it step by step. Some people also think that burnout stems from overcommitment and the inability to say no. And my response to that is, while the absence of healthy boundaries in your life may impact your work-life balance, it is not, in my view, the root cause of burnout. It's your difficult emotions such as shame, guilt, anger, and others that drive you into feeling not enough and lead you to overcommit. So now to review, advocacy burnout is not caused by toxic productivity or poor work-life balance. Rather, these are an outcome of burnout. I hope that this paradigmatic shift helped you in making significant changes to the way you relate to your burnout. In my course, Resurgence, I help people to stop blaming and shaming themselves for their burnout and instead approach it from a place of acceptance by befriending their burnout and seeing the gift in the wound. And these are some mindset shifts I urge you to consider, because if you continue to shame yourself for your burnout, you're actually worsening your burnout. Why? And this is what brings us to the core concept 3. Difficult emotions such as shame can cause the body to shut down. This is what I discovered based on research. Psychologists state that our sympathetic nervous system is best known for its role in responding to dangerous or stressful situations. In such situations, your sympathetic nervous system activates to speed up your heart rate and deliver more blood to areas of your body that need more oxygen or other responses to help you get out of danger. Psychologists are drawing a relationship between perfectionism and feelings of shame that high achievers have absorbed earlier on in their childhood from their caregivers. It implies that our perfectionism, that is, the feelings of not being enough, leads us to addiction to work, and that is related to feelings of shame. And as I mentioned, this is one of the root cause of burnout. But more than that, it is not only perfectionism, but also our relationship with our inner critic and our underdeveloped inner nurturer that exaggerates feelings of shame and underproduces positive emotions such as belonging, feeling cared for, and feeling valued. So what I have discovered is that advocates who have type A personalities may suffer from perfectionism, and they do not realize that beneath their perfectionism lies inherent difficult emotions such as shame and guilt. They feel guilty for not doing enough, for not having a greater social impact, for not being able to show up for their communities in big ways, and so on. There is increasing research that shows a correlation between perfectionism and feelings of shame. And in the case of advocacy burnout, the difficult emotions that come up as a result of pushing back against systemic oppression not only sap your energy as they trigger fight and flight response, but a step after that overreactiveness of brain, one experiences a slump in the energy, and that leads to burnout. So, in the old way of addressing your burnout, you will blame and shame yourself for your poor work-life balance and time management, and will start taking courses to improve these work-related skills. However, in the method that I teach, I bring a holistic approach to addressing your burnout using artistic modalities, deep listening, mindfulness meditation practice, and positive neuroplasticity. I teach you first to befriend and accept your burnout from a place of compassion, and then nurture your place of compassion with daily check-ins, giving yourself self-compassion breaks, be involved in meditation practices that will help you to ground yourself better. And this will all happen with as little time commitment as 10 to 15 minutes in a day. The reason why Resurgence as a 10-step method works is because it helps you address the root cause of your burnout by helping you to confront and recognize your difficult emotions. It helps you to feel safe inside yourself and in your surroundings so that you're not losing energy as a result of fear and anxiety. It helps you to rebuild a healthy connection with rest and sleep that is impacted by the systemic nature of the hustle culture, as well as the very nature of advocacy work that involves pushing back against systemic oppression. Moreover, this program comes with daily check-ins via a Facebook community and professional accountability that will help you to stay on track. So what steps can you take to initiate your healing journey from burnout? I could help you by teaching you a strategy called Color Your Burnout in my free 45-minute advocacy burnout to breakthrough call, in which you will gain greater clarity about your experience of burnout, as I believe that not only burnout is systemic in nature, but each individual experience of burnout differs. Recently, Alistair Martin, who is the CEO of A Healthier Democracy and the former physician at John F. Kennedy's Health Department at Harvard University, commented on my LinkedIn post. Your message addresses the critical and often misunderstood issue of burnout with empathy and insight. Your points about the uniqueness of each individual's experience with burnout and the systemic nature of its causes are particularly poignant. So to reiterate, Advocacy Burnout to Breakthrough Call is 100% free. Now you might be thinking, okay, there must be a catch to this. You just told me all of the ways you are going to help me. So why is the call free? First off, the call is free because this is my calling in life. I want to help and support advocates, creatives, academics to sustain their advocacy journey and reach their aspired social impact. Advocates are voices of hope in this world, and in a world in crisis, this is what I wish to contribute by helping people sustain their advocacy journey. I know that I can help you overcome some of the barriers that have been stopping you from achieving your aspired social impact. Also, I know that there are many of you listening who want more personalized support and accountability. So if you're someone who knows that for you to succeed, you need Resurgence, we can discuss this in the Advocacy Burnout to Breakthrough Call if you will be a right fit for the Resurgence program. And if not, that's completely okay. You will get so much value and clarity out of this call, and you will learn a new strategy to cope with your burnout, which is Color Your Burnout check-in strategy. There is one catch though. If you are someone who is looking for a quick fix or a magic pill so to speak, or a short-term coping strategy, or if you're someone who is not interested in their health or well-being, someone who is not patient with themselves, not committed to their wellness, not open-minded to a new way of doing things, then this might not be the right fit for you. However, if you know that the road to recovery isn't smooth, it's windy, that you are committed and you can't spend at least 10 to 15 minutes a day towards your well-being, you want to deeply listen to your body, you want to listen with empathy, and you are coachable and can ask for support and accountability. And if you're tired of trying things that don't work out and are done getting short-term results, then yes, this call is for you and you will gain tons from it. In this call, I will get to know you better as an advocate and what challenges you are experiencing in your advocacy journey. Moreover, we will talk about ways that I can support you in reaching your aspired social impact. We will talk about managing challenges that you're experiencing in your advocacy journey, overcoming obstacles and barriers in your personal life, constructing a system for self-care based on the time that you have, and a structured plan for your burnout recovery. This way, by the time the call is over, you will be left with helpful strategies that propel your success. Does that sound good? Type yes in the comments if you know that having a call like this will help you. Now, these are some frequently asked questions that I receive about the call. Do you call me or do I call you? And the answer is I will give you a Zoom link. Second question is, how long is the call? The call is 45 minutes. Third question, is there a catch? And the response is no, there is no catch. The call is completely free. Can you help me if I have tried XYZ? Will this help? And my response is, I can help you if you met the criteria I just outlined above. That is, if you're open to learning and willing to commit 10 to 15 minutes every day to your well-being, then I'm perfectly happy to help you out. So now you have a choice. You can continue to do what you're doing and blame and shame yourself for having poor boundaries or work-life balance and hope that that will heal your burnout, or let this 10-step program Resurgence help you in breaking free from burnout and have your aspired social impact. And if you decided on second, here is my email, thedeeplisteningpath@gmail.com, where you can book your free advocacy burnout to breakthrough call. Awesome. I will leave you with case studies of a few legendary changemakers of our time to inspire you in your advocacy journey. Now take the example of changemaker Amanda Nguyen. She was a victim of sexual assault, and the choice that she was presented with was to either accept injustice or rewrite the law. And her advocacy helped to protect the evidence of her sexual assault that not only led to justice for herself, but by advocating for a new legislation, she made way for others as well. She not only secured her own civil rights, but also that of other assault survivors by succeeding in passing the Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights in 2014. Amanda says, rage for me, although it was jump start of my activism, did not sustain. It was hope. The rage ran out. It was hope for a better tomorrow and a hope in organizing strategies that kept me going. Joy, she says, is the most radical form of rebellion. While rage can be a powerful fuel for social action, it is not sustainable. So, dear advocates, if you are hearing this, this is a very important shift that you can make, which is to transform your rage into compassion, into compassionate action. Let's take the example of Brian Evanson, who is the president of the Equal Justice Initiative and helps falsely convicted people in U.S. prisons to avoid the death penalty by fighting their cases and bringing them justice. One man who escaped death penalty after spending 30 years of his life in jail said, "They took away my 20s, they took away my 30s, they took away my 40s, but they could not take away my joy." Whenever I listen to these words, tears come in my eyes. There is a saying that goes, no matter how much they try to break you, There is a human spirit within you that remains unbreakable. And the road to recovery is to connect with this human spirit. Brian Evanson shares in an interview that he had the honor of meeting Rosa Parks, the woman who went down in the history as a brave fighter for civil justice who resisted segregation on public buses in the U.S. She asked Brian, "What is the Equal Justice Initiative about and what are you trying to do?" And Evanson replies, "We're trying to do something about the death penalty, trying to do something about kids being prosecuted as adults, trying to do something about prison overcrowding, trying to do something about mentally ill, trying to do something about racial bias, trying to do something about poverty, about segregation, trying to do something about these segregations and conditions of confinement." And Rosa Parks shook her head and said, and that's how Evanson describes it, she said, "That's going to make you tired, tired, tired." And Carlene Ford put a finger on his lips and said, "That's why you got to be brave, brave, brave." Arundhati Roy beautifully puts it, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." So, all you social advocates out there, I feel the compassion and the passion you bring to your social work. I feel and I know the change that you want to bring in this world. But you must also learn to sustain your advocacy energy by rooting yourself in compassion and joy. And I invite you to book a free Advocacy Burnout to Breakthrough call with me, where we're going to talk about the challenges that you're experiencing in your advocacy journey and find a way to help you break free from burnout and revitalize yourself. So I will see you on the other side, and thank you so much for listening to this masterclass.